The alien space station Omega hung like a spider of polished obsidian in the void, its spindly arms reaching outward to accommodate vessels from across the galaxy. Among the elegant curves of Century research ships and sleek corporate shuttles, the horizon looked like a misplaced cinder block, functional, battered, unmistakably human. Nathan Red stepped out of its docking ramp with the easy gait of a man who'd hauled half the galaxy on his back. His exosuit, non-military grade, but heavily worn, clung to his muscular frame with a low mechanical hum, each servo calibrated for bulk cargo handling rather than combat. Still, he moved like he belonged, gray eyes scanning the docking bay with calm precision. "Remember, read," Captain Harlow's voice buzzed through the earpiece, already thick with warning. "You're just delivering spectroscopic analyzers. To Lab Section 7. No wandering, no sightseeing. And for God's sake, no flirting with the locals." Nathan smirked, brushing a gloved hand through his short chestnut hair. "When have I ever caused trouble, Captain? Alphabetically? Or chronologically?" He chuckled and ended the comm, hoisting the crate like it weighed nothing, though it would have flattened an unaugmented human. Nathan followed the luminescent floor path deeper into Omega's interior. The architecture was alien and fluid, walls flowing like they'd been grown rather than built. Lights shifted hue subtly with each passerby, adjusting to their visual preferences. Century tech always trying to impress. Lab Section 7 lay in a quiet wing humming with sterile energy. As the doors whispered open, he stepped into a cavernous lab where tall, willowy Centauri scientists bent over glowing workstations. But it wasn't the room's technology that stopped Nathan in his tracks. It was the woman standing before a containment field. She was unlike any species he'd encountered. Azure skin glowed faintly under the lab lights. Her body was graceful, her curves elegant, and her hair, if it could be called that, moved in delicate, tendril-like strands as if stirred by invisible wind. She studied a floating sphere of blue. Energy, its pulses synchronized with her datapad. "Delivery from Earth," Nathan announced, setting the crate down. "Spectroscopic analyzers, as requested." She turned, and he found himself staring into eyes of radiant gold, serene, intelligent, and assessing. "You're early," she said, her voice melodic and textured in a way no human throat could. "Replicate, I'm Dr. Selena Vell." "Nathan Red," he replied with a half bow and a grin. "And I'm never early. Everyone else is just late." Her brow arched, intrigued despite herself. "Is that what humans tell themselves? Among other things?" He nodded at the sphere behind her. "What is that?" "Doesn't look like any energy source I've seen." She stiffened. "Standard research. Nothing that would interest a cargo." "Handler." "Try me," Nathan said, leaning casually against the crate, the exosuit humming softly. "I've been to 36 research stations. Picked up a few things." Before she could respond, the lab's lights turned crimson. "Alarms!" Shrieked. The walls pulsed with danger signals. "Security breach," a Centauri cried. "Unidentified assault force in docking arm 4. The doors exploded inward. Metal shrapnel and smoke filled the lab as 3 massive Krell mercenaries stormed in. Their armor was blackened, scarred from old battles. Plasma rifles gleamed. In their claws, secure the core. Their leader roared, voice gravel and venom. "Kill everyone else." Selena's golden eyes widened with horror as she stepped instinctively in front of the containment field. Nathan didn't hesitate. He launched forward, grabbed Selena around the waist, and dove behind a reinforced console just as plasma fire erupted around them. Screams echoed. A Centauri was vaporized mid-sprint. "We have to go," he hissed. "Not without the core." She snapped, pointing at the sphere. "If they get it," a blast hit nearby, pelting them with sparks. The lead Krell was already at the field, disabling the controls. Nathan's instinct screamed. He moved. Selena tossed him a small device. EMP short range. On her signal, he surged forward. The EMP detonated in a wave of static locking. The Krell armor just long enough. Nathan slammed into the first pirate with bone-breaking force, the exosuit amplifying every strike. The second Krell swung wildly scorching Nathan's shoulder, but was knocked out with a brutal uppercut. The last one had reached the core. It floated above its pedestal, glowing ominously. As the Krell reached for it, Nathan hurled himself into the pirate, sending them both crashing into the controls. Sparks flew. The core wobbled, then drifted downward. Nathan's suit was flashing warnings. The plasma hit had fried his power supply dot, and yet the core floated there, pulsing, almost aware. He ripped out his damaged battery unit. Without thinking, driven by desperation, he slammed the sphere into the empty socket in his chest. That pain dot, then power. His vision whited out for a second. The exosuit surged back online, but stronger, faster, fluid beyond anything he'd felt before. Every nerve tingled. The air seemed slower. Time bent. He stood, blue light coursing from his chest. Selena stared at him in awe. "What did I just do?" he asked, breathless. Her voice was soft. "Something impossible." Then she grabbed his arm. "Now run." The corridor outside Lab Section 7 was a storm of alarms, flickering lights, and confusion. Nathan barreled down it with Selena clutched tightly against his side, the exosuit's limbs flexing with supernatural strength. The core embedded in his chest pulsed with rhythmic intensity, no longer a foreign object, but something alive, something listening. Behind them, plasma bolts scorched the walls. A second Krell team had arrived, and their shrieking war cries echoed off the curved Zenturi alloy surfaces. Nathan ducked into a side hall and skidded to a stop behind a bulkhead. The servos in his legs hissed, compensating for his sudden shift in momentum. "Which way to the emergency pods?" he demanded, scanning for directional indicators. Selena, still gripping his arm tightly, raised a trembling finger toward a passage branching to the right. "This leads to the auxiliary escape bays, lower traffic, lower security." Nathan nodded and broke into a sprint. His footfalls, amplified by the suit and the core, slammed into the deck like thunderclaps. He could feel the energy from the core flooding through the mechanical limbs. Movement felt effortless, instinctive. He wasn't wearing the suit anymore. He was the suit. Around the next corner, two Krell waited. They raised their rifles. Nathan didn't slow. He surged forward, driving his shoulder into the first mercenary's chest and sending him hurtling backward through a translucent wall. Before the second could fire, Nathan's fist cracked across its helmet with such force the alien dropped like a sack of steel. The exosuit vibrated with every strike, the core pulsing brighter with each act of will. Selena's voice trembled in awe. "You're not just channeling it. It's amplifying your intent." "Let's hope my intent is to survive," Nathan muttered, scanning the intersection ahead. They reached the emergency pod bay, an open chamber with sleek capsule-like crafts docked into launch tubes. Each pod bore Zenturi glyphs and was clearly not designed for humans. Nathan spotted the closest one and angled toward it. Selena stumbled as they neared the access ramp. The blood loss from her injury, still sluggishly dripping from her side, had drained what strength she had left. Nathan caught her before she collapsed entirely and swept her up again, her lithe form curling unconsciously into him. "You're not dying on me," he said, gritting his teeth. "I didn't rip the laws of physics in half just to lose you." Now, inside the pod, controls blinked erratically in alien script. Selena reached out, her hand shaky, her voice weak. "I've studied their tech. I can fly it, I think. That's good enough for me." He set her into the pilot's cradle as gently as possible. She groaned, sweat beading on her azure brow. Her golden eyes were dulled, flickering like failing lights. Nathan sealed the hatch just as plasma fire erupted against the pod's outer hull. The launch sequence auto-engaged, the pod shuddering violently as clamps released. "Brace yourself," Selena warned, her voice slurring slightly. "We're not going to land gracefully." The pod fired into space like a bullet, tumbling hard into the black. Nathan clung to the wall grips as the stars spun outside the viewport. A massive Krell ship loomed in pursuit, its weapons charging. "Of course they're following us," Nathan growled. "The core," Selena whispered. "They'll chase it across galaxies." A plasma blast clipped the pod side, and the vessel lurched. Warning glyphs flared red. The stabilizers sputtered. Atmospheric control dropped. The pod began to plummet toward the rust-colored planet below Arvin. "Selena, thrusters offline," she said. "We're going to crash." Nathan braced his arms over her body as the pod broke atmosphere. Fire screamed across the hull. The force of the descent turned gravity into a merciless hand, slamming them into their seats. Panels ripped free from the walls. Sparks flew. "Not the smoothest landing I've had," Nathan muttered through gritted teeth. "Let's hope it's not your last." The pod hit Arvin's surface like a meteor. Metal screamed. Earth buckled. It skidded through sand and stone, finally coming to a grinding halt against a cluster of jagged rocks. Everything went still. Smoke filled the air. Nathan blinked. His head was ringing. Blood trickled down his brow. The suit had taken most of the impact, but the shock still rattled his bones. "Selena?" He CROAKED. No answer. He turned, and his heart stopped. She lay crumpled in the pilot's seat, a long sliver of hull embedded in her side. Her skin, once luminous, had turned pale violet. Blue blood spread across her ruined lab coat. He scrambled to her side, cradling her face. Her eyes fluttered open. "You need to go." "No." His voice was iron. "Not leaving you. A core. They'll come. You have to protect it." "I am protecting it," he said, lifting her gently into his arms. "And you're part of that package, understand?" She tried to protest, but he was already kicking the pod's crumpled door open, stepping out into the harsh daylight of a blazing alien desert. Twin suns burned overhead. The horizon was endless. The sand shimmered with heat. And far above, a Krell ship descended like a vulture. Nathan adjusted Selena in his arms. 3 days to the nearest outpost," she whispered, her strength fading. He looked toward the distant mountains, toward salvation. "Then I'd better start walking." The twin suns of Arvin hung mercilessly overhead, their heat turning the rust-colored sands into a blistering sea of shimmering gold. The desert stretched in every direction, unforgiving and empty, its silence broken only by the wind and the steady, mechanical rhythm of Nathan Reed's footsteps. The exosuit, now powered by the eternal core embedded in his chest, moved with uncanny fluidity, each motion precise, strong, and guided by his will. Cradled against him, Dr. Selena Vell stirred faintly. Her skin, once radiant, had dulled to a pale hue. The metal shard still lodged in her side had slowed her bleeding, but every jolt, every sway as he stepped, caused her pain. Nathan adjusted her position with infinite care, his arms never faltering. "Should have left me," she whispered, her voice a breath against his collarbone. Nathan didn't stop walking. The horizon shimmered with heat and hallucination, the distant outline of jagged mountains offering the only promise of shelter. "Yeah," he said, "but I didn't." Her golden eyes blinked open slowly. "Stubborn. You have no idea." They said little else in the hours that followed. The desert was too vast, too oppressive. Sand battered them like tiny knives. whipped by sudden gusts. The exosuit adjusted for terrain and temperature, but even its augmented systems weren't immune to the brutal heat. Nathan's hydration pack ran dry by midday. The sun bled into the sky like a burning wound, and every step became a silent war against exhaustion. The core in his chest pulsed steadily, its rhythm syncing with his heartbeat. Sometimes it brightened when he faltered, almost as if urging him onward. Other times it dimmed when Selena cried out in pain, as if grieving. He didn't understand it, but he could feel it more than just a power source now. It was alive, and it had chosen them. By nightfall, the desert flipped into its cruel mirror. Heat gave way to frigid winds. Nathan found a shallow rock outcrop and ducked beneath it. The suit's temperature regulation fought to maintain warmth, but Selena's lips had turned blue. Her breathing was ragged. I can't. Don't say that, Nathan said, his voice suddenly sharp. He removed his jacket and wrapped it around her, pulling her close. You're going to make it. I'm not built like you, she whispered. My biology. It's not meant for this environment, or this pace. You're not dying out here, Selena. I won't let you. His tone left no room for debate. Her hand drifted weakly to her abdomen. Something's changing. Nathan froze. Your wound? No, she whispered, voice trembling. Inside, where no wound should be. He met her gaze, and she nodded slowly. He didn't understand at first, but then it hit him. The flare of warmth that had pulsed between them back in the ruins. The impossible healing. The connection. The core. Are you saying? I think I'm pregnant, Nathan. Her voice cracked, not with fear, but disbelief. Your species and mine. It shouldn't be possible. But the core, it changed us. Nathan sat back slowly, his mind racing. But we've only known each other for... I know, she whispered. And yet, I can feel it. Life. Inside me. Accelerating too quickly. The wind howled through the rocks. The stars above blinked into existence. One by one, Nathan looked down. At her, cradled in his arms, skin glowing faintly in the cold light. She looked fragile now. And yet, something in her eyes, something unshaken and brave, held his gaze like a tether. He placed a hand gently on her abdomen. He felt it, flicker, a warmth that mirrored the core in his chest. He exhaled, slow and steady. Then we get you. To that outpost, he said. We get you help, both of you. Selena closed her eyes, a small breath of relief escaping her lips. You're insane. I carried you across a desert while being hunted by space lizards and powered by a living star, he replied. I passed insane 12 miles ago. The next morning, they rose with the twin suns. The sky was fire. The sand shimmered like a mirage. Nathan adjusted his grip, his muscles sore but refusing to quit. Selena pointed toward the hazy silhouette of the mountain range. That ridge. Behind it, there's a research outpost. They have medical facilities, communications, everything. We need. How far? 3 days, if we don't stop. He nodded, jaw tightening. Then we won't stop. He walked. The core burned in his chest, and in his arms. The woman carrying the impossible leaned against him alive, determined, and beginning to believe that she just might survive. The suns had risen higher than ever before, twin disks of merciless fire beating down upon the desert, turning the sand into a molten sheet of orange and gold. Nathan trudged onward, his boots sinking deep into the shimmering dunes. The exosuit groaned beneath the stress, but it never failed him, not once. The core in his chest pulsed with unwavering strength, a rhythm that had become as familiar as his own breath. Selena lay against him, wrapped in the remnants of his jacket and her torn lab coat, barely conscious. Her azure skin shimmered with sweat, her golden eyes fluttering open only occasionally to meet his. "Still with me?" he asked, voice hoarse. She nodded weakly, her hand resting over her abdomen. "Barely. The outpost's just past the next ridge," he said, though he had no way of knowing. He lied with conviction, because hope was the only thing they had left docked by mid-afternoon. The world around them began to shimmer strangely, the heat distorting the horizon into dancing shapes. Then, as they crested a rise of red rock, Nathan froze. There it was, the outpost, a cluster of silver domes nestled against the base of the jagged mountains, half buried in the sand. Satellite dishes, landing pads, solar towers, it all shimmered. Like salvation, relief surged through him, raw and electric. "We made it," he breathed. "Selina, we made it," she stirred, then frowned. "Nathan, do you hear that?" He paused. Silence. Too much silence. No transport engines. No voices. No activity. No movement. His stomach turned cold. He narrowed his eyes, enhancing vision through the suit's HUD, and then he saw it, a Krell assault ship, parked behind the main dome. "No," he whispered, ducking behind a nearby rock. "They got here first." Selina's breathing quickened in his arms. "The child, it's growing too fast. I can feel it draining me." Nathan cradled her. "Tighter. You're not going to die here. I'll get us in. There has to be another way." She closed her eyes, then opened them with a spark of lucidity. Maintenance tunnels. The cooling system under the outpost. I studied the schematics. There's a hatch on the east side. Nathan kissed her forehead gently. "Then east it is." Keeping to the rocky outcrops, he circled the perimeter of the facility. The Krell patrols were methodical, but sparse, likely assuming any survivors would be too broken to resist. He found the access hatch buried beneath a pile of sand and pried it open, the exosuit hissing as it strained the warped seal. The tunnels below were narrow and dark, lined with conduits and humming pipes. The sudden coolness was a blessing. He shifted Selina slightly, trying to ease the pressure on her abdomen. Her breathing had become shallow, her skin pale and clammy. "Hang in there," he whispered. "We're close." "Red conduits," she murmured. "Follow them. They lead to the central hub second-level medical bay." Nathan moved through the darkness, guided only by flickering lights and Selina's whispered directions. Occasionally, the distant echo of guttural Krell voices reverberated from overhead. Eventually, they reached a vertical shaft. A rusted ladder led upward into the unknown. Nathan exhaled. Time to climb. He secured her across his back, careful, not to jostle her more than necessary. The exosuit took most of the weight as he ascended rung by rung. At the top, he pushed open a grated panel and emerged into a dim storage room filled with medical equipment. He stepped out into the lab carefully and laid Selina onto a padded table, brushing her hair back from her sweat-slicked brow. "You did it," she whispered faintly. "You brought us here?" "I'm not done yet," he said, scanning the shelves. "What do you need?" "Cellular stabilizers, blue vials, in cold storage, and a bioscanner. We need to check the child's development." He turned, already moving. The door hissed open behind him. Nathan dropped into a defensive crouch, knife half drawn only to freeze, when a voice called out, "Wait!" Not Krell. A figure stepped in, human, middle-aged, unshaven, with deep lines etched into his face and an old patch bearing the insignia of the Galactic Science Council on his coat. "My name is Dr. Henry Elliott," the man said, holding his hands up. "I've been hiding since they arrived." Nathan didn't lower the knife. "Prove it. I was part of the core research team." "I know what that is in your chest." He pointed. "The heart star. I never thought I'd see it bound to a human." Nathan's stance loosened slightly. "She's dying," he said, gesturing to Selina. "The baby's killing her. Can you help?" Elliot crossed the room in 2 steps, scanning Selina with a portable device. His eyes widened. This is a miracle. It's a death sentence unless you do something. The energy from the core is fueling the pregnancy, accelerating it far beyond what her body can handle. Nathan's voice dropped to a growl. "So fix it." "There's only one way," Elliot said slowly. "You have to remove the core from your suit. It's too close. Its energy is feeding the growth. If we remove it, we might stop the acceleration." Nathan stiffened. "Will I survive that?" Elliot hesitated. "It's bonded to you. Removal could kill you, but not removing it will kill them." Across the room, Selina stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, finding Nathan. "No," she rasped. "Don't?" "Not for me." He crossed to her side and took her hand in his. "You begged me to leave you once," he said gently. "I didn't then. I won't now." He looked back to Elliot. "Take it out. Save her. Save our child." The doctor moved quickly, prepping the tools, muttering to himself as he prepared for what might be a fatal extraction. Outside, heavy footsteps began to echo down the corridor. Krell voices closer this time. Nathan gripped Selina's hand tightly, his breath steady. If this was the end, it would be on his terms. Asterisk. The walls of the medical bay trembled as the guttural shouts of the Krell. Mercenaries drew closer, their boots pounding down the corridor with the weight of inevitability. The door's access panel flickered red, struggling under an external override. Inside the sterile room, everything moved too fast and too slow all at once. Nathan Reed lay on the examination table, body stiff within the now rigid exosuit. The core embedded in his chest pulsed erratically, like a heart in its final moments. Across from him, Selina lay pale and motionless, her lab coat soaked in blue blood, one hand resting over the slight but unnatural swell of her abdomen. Dr. Henry Elliot worked frantically between them, sweat beading on his brow as he calibrated the extraction tool. The circular device hissed, its nanoscalpel spinning. "Once I start, there's no going back," Elliot warned. "Your nervous system's already partially bonded with the core. This could just do it," Nathan sighed. "We're out of time." A deep hiss came from the other side of the door. The Krell were cutting through. Elliot pressed the tool against Nathan's chest plate. The exosuit sparked violently, reacting like a living thing resisting the operation. Nathan bit down hard. As the searing pain lanced through his chest, into his spine, his skull, his soul, his vision flashed white. The core flared brilliantly beneath the surface, blue light radiating through the seams of the suit. The door buckled with a final groan. Then it burst open. Krell warriors stormed inside, weapons raised, their glowing eyes locking on the core pulsing inside Nathan. Too late. Nathan gasped out. Elliot wrenched the core free with a final mechanical hiss. Nathan's body convulsed, the suit collapsing around him like dead weight. The blue sphere, pulsing like a miniature. Sun rolled into Elliot's hands, burning hot with raw energy. "Give it to us," barked the Krell commander, stepping forward with a plasma rifle aimed at Selina. Nathan couldn't move, could barely breathe. Selina moaned weakly, sensing the danger. And that's when he saw it, the flash of understanding in Elliot's eyes, the resolve hardening in his jaw. Without another word, Elliot placed the core directly onto Selina's abdomen. The effect was immediate. Blue light surged from the core, crawling over her body like veins of lightning. She screamed high, sharp, and filled with power. Her eyes flared open, glowing molten gold rimmed with sapphire. The Krell commander aimed to shoot, but Nathan, with the last flicker of strength in his failing body, lunged, still encased in the Inert exosuit, he tackled the Krell's legs. The rifle discharged harmlessly into the ceiling as both of them crashed to the floor. The other Krell shouted in fury, raising their weapons, and then everything exploded. Not with fire, but with light. The core dissolved into Selena's body like liquid starlight. The energy wave that followed swept outward with a roar like a cosmic wind. It shattered glass, knocked over medbeds, and slammed into the Krell warriors like a storm. One by one, they fell, their armor shorting out, their bodies twitching violently as the energy scrambled their neural systems. Then stillness. Every last Krell lay unconscious, catatonic, breathing but broken. Nathan gasped, trying to sit up, but the suit held him like a coffin. His vision faded at the edges. Across the room, Selena hovered in the light. Her wounds were gone. Her skin glowed like burnished sapphire, her tendrils lifted by invisible currents. And her belly, still swollen, but no longer grotesquely distended, pulsed gently with the echo of the core. She staggered to her knees, rushing to Nathan's side. Her hands, now crackling faintly with residual energy, touched his cheeks. "Stay with me," she whispered, her voice layered with something deeper, something otherworldly. "You gave everything. Don't go." Nathan tried to smile. "Told you, not leaving you." He passed out with their name on his lips. When consciousness returned, it was like rising through water, slow and strange. He felt softness beneath. Him, warm light above, and the steady rhythm of a heart, not just his own. He opened his eyes. He was in a recovery room. Medical monitors blinked calmly beside him. The weight of the suit was gone, replaced by a simple cloth tunic. His body ached, but it was a distant ache muffled and almost irrelevant. Beside him sat Selena. She was radiant, not just beautiful, transcendent. Her skin glowed with subtle energy, her golden eyes brighter than ever, and her tendrils drifted gently as she slept. One hand rested on her rounded belly, now smooth and steady beneath a soft cloth wrap. He reached up and touched her fingers. She stirred instantly. "Nathan," she breathed. "I'm here," he rasped. "You almost didn't come back. Figured someone should make sure you weren't flirting with the doctor." She laughed through her tears. "You idiot." Nathan sat up slowly, surprised at how light he felt. "What happened?" "The core didn't just save me," she whispered. "It changed us. It gave you something too." He looked at his arms. Beneath the skin, faint blue lines pulsed like veins of light. He concentrated and felt the energy respond. "I'm part core now," he said, awed. "In a way," came Elliot's voice as he entered the room. "The core didn't just heal you. It restructured you. Accelerated healing. Enhanced strength. Possibly a lifespan 3 times your own. You and the child both." Nathan turned to Selena. "And you?" She smiled and took his hand, guiding it to her belly. A kick-strong, insistent answered. "I'm alive. And so is our child. Stabilized, healthy, growing normally now." Nathan exhaled, overwhelmed. "We made it." "No," she corrected gently. "You made it. You carried me across a desert, through fire and war and death. You gave up everything, your power, your life. And the core saw that. It made you more than human." Nathan leaned in, resting his forehead against hers in the ancient allure gesture she had taught him. And in the quiet that followed, they both knew nothing would ever be the same again. Asterisk. Morning sunlight spilled through the curved windows of the outpost's medical bay, casting golden beams across the sterile floor. Beyond the horizon, Arvin's twin suns began their slow ascent, lighting the desert that had almost claimed their lives. Inside, Nathan Reed sat on the edge of the recovery bed, bare feet touching cold tiles, hands loosely folded on his lap. He stared at them, his hands watching faint blue veins of energy pulse just beneath the skin. Every beat was a whisper of something alien, something eternal. Selena stood by the window, her silhouette framed by the light, a soft breeze stirring the sheer fabric of the medical gown she now wore. Her tendrils danced gently in the air, radiant with life. One hand rested on her gently rounded belly, where the impossible life they had created pulsed in harmony with the remnant energy of the core. "She's going to be strong," Selena said softly, not turning. "I can feel it. More than allure, more than human." Nathan rose and joined her, standing beside her as the suns painted the desert in hues of fire and gold. "She?" he asked, surprised. Selena smiled. "A daughter. The scans confirmed it this morning." Nathan let out a breath that trembled with emotion. He hadn't let himself hope, hadn't even realized how tightly he'd gripped the fear inside until now. "She's healthy?" "Perfectly. Thanks to you. Thanks to the core." He placed a hand on Selena's stomach. The moment his skin touched hers, a gentle pulse of blue energy flickered between them, warm and alive. Selena closed her eyes, leaning into the contact. Behind them, the door slid open with a soft chime. Dr. Elliot entered with a datapad, his expression cautiously optimistic. "We've received word from the Galactic Science Council," he said. "They've secured the facility. The Krell prisoners have been taken into custody. Most of them are unresponsive. Whatever the core did scrambled their neural pathways, but they're stable." He paused. "You're heroes, both of you. The Council wants to meet with you in person. Offer you research grants, protection, a seat at the table. You're not just anomalies. You're catalysts." Nathan looked at Selena. "What do you want?" She turned to face him fully, her golden eyes filled with quiet certainty. "I want our daughter to grow up in a galaxy that understands what brought her into existence. Not fear it. Not weaponize it. Understand it. The core wasn't just power, it was intent. It chose us. I want to know why." Elliot nodded. "We've never seen anything like what you two became. That kind of biological bond, that energy symbiosis, it was spoken of in fragments in Arvani ruins. But no one believed it was real." Nathan crossed his arms. "So what? We become lab rats?" "No," Elliot said quickly. "We study it together. I want you both on the research team. You, Selena, as lead biophysicist, and Nathan, well, we'll figure something out. Protector advisor, hell write your own title." Selena laughed softly. "You may not be a scientist, Nathan, but you carried the future across the desert. That's more than any of us could have done." He stepped closer to her, brushing a hand along her cheek. "I'm not going anywhere. Wherever you go, I follow. That's the deal, and I accept." Their foreheads touched again, a gesture that now felt as natural as breath. For a long, quiet moment, they just stood there, bound by more than biology, more than energy, bound by the decision made in a burning lab when he could have run, and chose instead to carry her. Later, they stood on the landing pad, watching the stars overhead blink into view. A science vessel hovered above the outpost, ready to take them to a new home, a new future. Nathan glanced down at his arm. The blue lines beneath his skin pulsed in harmony with Selena's hand resting on his. She glanced at him, her lips curling into a smile. "So," she teased, "still think this delivery was just another job?" He grinned. "Cargo was a little heavier than advertised. And the tip?" He leaned in, kissed her softly. "Worth every step." The ship's ramp lowered, casting a long shadow across the sand. Behind them lay the desert, the crucible that had forged them. Ahead lay the stars. They walked together, human and allure, parents of a child who was neither and both something new, something extraordinary. As they ascended into the ship, the blue glow from Nathan's chest pulsed once more not with power, but with promise. A promise that whatever came next, they would face it together. Bound by love, by sacrifice, by an ancient force they had chosen not warriors or leaders, but two souls who simply refused to let each other go. And somewhere, deep in the vast quiet of the galaxy, the memory of the core endured, its final purpose fulfilled in them. * The end.